Last week's presidential immunity ruling by the Leonard Leo-appointed Supreme Court conservative majority all but put a nail in the coffin of the efforts to hold Donald Trump accountable for his many alleged crimes before November's election. The federal election interference case won't be returned back to D.C. Circuit Court Judge Tanya Chutkan until next month, when the Supreme Court officially issues its judgment in the immunity case. At that point, Judge Chutkan would need to parse through what parts of the indictment could still be charged against Trump, and that would likely require evidentiary hearings to be held. That would be the last opportunity before the election for Jack Smith to make public any of the damning evidence against Trump, including the possibility of having high-profile officials like Trump's former vice president, Mike Pence, testify at the hearings. The Guardian reports that Trump's team is already preparing to fight to stop such hearings from occurring. According to The Guardian, in the coming months, Trump's lawyers are expected to argue that the judge can decide whether the conduct is immune based on legal arguments alone. If prosecutors try to call Pence or his chief of staff, Mark Short, to testify about meetings where Trump discussed stopping the January 6th certification, Trump would try to block that testimony by asserting executive privilege and having Pence assert the speech or debate clause protection. Joining me now is Melissa Murray, NYU law professor, MSNBC legal analyst, and co-host of the Strict Scrutiny podcast. Melissa, good to see you. So what are the chances that Trump's lawyers can once again delay this? Because this hearing could be the only way the American people could hear from Mike Pence. Is it possible that they can stop it?
I don't know if it's possible to stop it, but that's never been the goal. The goal, Joy, has always been to delay as long as possible. My co-author of the Trump indictments, Andrew Weissmann, has said on many an MSNBC program that this particular evidentiary hearing might be the only opportunity for the American public to have a full understanding of the evidence against Donald Trump. Like, by having this evidentiary hearing, it might be the closest thing we can get to a trial by jury. And I think that's the last thing that Donald Trump would like to see. So here we have this move to get Judge Chutkan to decide this on the papers, to not hold any kind of hearing, and to keep this evidence out of the public domain.
How do we stop this case from going back to the Supreme Court? Because I feel like their best shot would be to somehow appeal her attempt to hold the evidentiary hearing and somehow get it back into the hands of the pro-insurrectionist majority on the court. Because if they did that, we already know that whether it's John Roberts or Alito or Thomas, they'll shut it down.
So it's a really interesting question. I mean, obviously, all roads do lead back to the Supreme Court. There would be a hearing before Judge Chutkan about whether or not the hearing could happen. That could be appealed onto the D.C. Circuit, and then any decision from the D.C. Circuit could be appealed to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, however, does not have to take this. And again, so many Americans are up in arms about this immunity decision. 75% of Americans don't believe that the president should have complete immunity from criminal prosecution. And they worry that although the court has not given the president complete immunity, it has opened a quite wide door to the president having immunity from criminal liability in the future. And they are understandably upset about it. And so I wonder if the court, which has to rely on public opinion to some degree for its own legitimacy, might think twice about taking up this case and handing another win to Donald Trump. But the delay is really where all of the action is.
I believe it is the chances that they would take the case and protect him again are 100%. I don't think they care at all. I mean, this is my opinion. I don't think they care at all. I think they've shown in the way that they write and even the way they respond to the dissents. John Roberts and them don't care. They want Trump back in, and they don't care what they have to do. Real quickly, on the case about him stealing classified documents that we know that Aileen Cannon is trying to help him out, is there some way that the concurrence written by Clarence Thomas could give her a leg to stand on to dismiss that case?
Oh, I think that concurrence is written entirely for an audience of one, and that one was Judge Cannon. That concurrence by Justice Clarence Thomas, which no one else on the court joined, essentially raised questions about the constitutionality of the appointment of the special counsel. This was something that Judge Cannon had already questioned and had an open hearing on in her courtroom just weeks before. This only fuels that fire. And so, again, I think it was tailor-made for Judge Cannon. Others may disagree, but I think it will certainly stoke the flames of this particular argument.
If, to just circle right back again to the Chutkan case, if that hearing does happen, who would you, as a legal professional, most want to hear from? Would it be Mike Pence? Like, who would you most want to hear from in that hearing?
Well, I think, again, it's the panoply of evidence that's really going to be important here. I'm not sure that any one particular witness or any one particular piece of evidence is going to be determinative or dispositive, but the entire tableau might be. But I do think the evidence from former Vice President Mike Pence about what happened on that day, how he was pressured to delay the certification or to reject the certification of the Electoral College would be really important. Whether that evidence could come out, we've talked about all of the different legal theories for preventing it, would be a problem.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I would love to hear from him. It would be very interesting. Melissa Murray, thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.